Just as every tragedy in the world, the concept of a Marxist review analysis has devolved into a running joke between individuals on the internet, reliant on the aspect of looking at something funny, and then using big words on them. This can be called a reconstruction of proletarian materialism, which focuses on the aspect of a clash between all fields of class consciousness, i.e., though the concept of a Marxism analyst conjures the notion and attitude that with their given statements and remarks, the analytical reviewer would be a serious, prolific intellectual addressing actual concepts and notions within the study of their piece of work, they are, in contrast of divide between seriousness and humor, by notion of parody, reviewing something for which the concept of Marxism holds little meaning for, like children's movies for example, though I'd like to add glitter to that list. Tia Texanda. Texida, but there thus engulfs the aspect of the rising tide of the growing notion of satire, which is a reflection of what many may call cringe culture or irony culture. Many have begun to pride themselves at looking and making videos purposely awful or contrary to search engine optimization appearance as a means of contrasting an audience's expectancy. They have thus begun to veer on a path of uprising, to engulf away the natural means of norms and veer their audience towards a mirror of society. Older people will watch these videos and they will be confused. Younger people will watch these videos and they will laugh because they are confused. It's dopamine, it's oxytocin, it's serotonin, it's endorphins, it's endorphins, it's endorphins. A younger audience can't concentrate as well and comprehend as well that of the older generations before them. In replacement of understanding, there is a mental attraction towards what they comprehend as mystery, and so, unable to react in any other way, they like it. They really like it. They laugh, and comprehension in so a way offers a positive perception onto the mind. It's very complicated stuff. And without enough learned information to usually comprehend it, they thus laugh at a means of a cornered reaction. Positive chemicals in the mind make them want more. And it's been noted that this aspect is on the rise. The notion of growing children who experience a radiance of confusing material evolved to make equalized banter. I, for one, watched a lot of Newgrounds, and that had stupid jokes everywhere because people and animators are lazy usually, and then here I am now. But that's just the formalities of a growing tide of the new generation, for which the new wave of Marxist reviews comes from, is a byproduct of situation on the internet. It's a brilliant mix between humor and study, a serious pseudo-intellectual analysis of a silly topic, with no offer of true intended conjure, with insert of study towards which aren't really there. It's called looking too deep, and also showcasing that anyone can do it. Anyone can say this stuff. And it also shows that sometimes people take it serious. And it's only a difference between what people take seriously and not. Meaninglessness is so the word. But then can't one say that all Marxist reviews are meaningless? They are all the conjurement of self-imposed thought, a self-insert of belief into what might or might not be there, what might or might not be intended as a notion of motion. And one could say this, and perhaps be correct, because ironic Marxist reviews go on to show just how fragile and meaningless the concept of Marxist reviews are. Anyone could make them, you just need to know big words. And we can take a look at this even further in the aspect of social commentary. A Marxist review leers at the aspects of rising forces of labor gradually overwhelming and overtaking the current era of authority. There's a divide, the bourgeoisie and the proletarians. Though in actuality, it's more accurate to consider it as the powerful and the weak, the ones in charge versus the ones without authority. And in comparison of contrastment to the aspect and engagement of ironic Marxist reviews versus unironic Marxist reviews, that's specifically on topics which hold a grander study of focus on means of which there holds actual Marxist engagement, one could say that unironic Marxist reviews hold more power. You can put it in your resume or portfolio if you want to get a job as an analytical scholar. You won't be employed because Who's gonna hire that? But you will have something which constitutes as being conceptual and allowable as nevertheless showable to potential non-existent employers, aka those in power within a company, an entity within an industry, within our capitalist market and government. Now, you can show your Penguins of Madagascar Marxist review to people, and those people are random folks on the internet. But is that going to lead anywhere? Is that going to be as powerful as having a serious work of intellectual showcasement within a portfolio? Your outrightly silly video might get some views, maybe 100,000, but it's an engagement which lasts too little too late to be enough to showcase the prowess of authoritative conjecture. Unless if you want to be a comedian, and some of those people have gone on to be engaged within serious conflicts of authoritarian problems within the world. Tim Allen, Will Smith, Louis C.K., they've all done silly things, veering on the aspects of ironic representative material, but they've also done serious work. More projection means more engaging projects representative of society and mass, but they exploit their markets. So, can we really trust those capitalist pigs? Come on. But let's get back a little bit to the aspect of divide, of what constitutes as a project conceiving greater meaning, a serious video or an ironic serious video. What benefits the individual more? Is the actual serious video more engaging for this reason? Because even the bourgeoisie has shared a joke or series of renowned contextual contrasting engagements with the proletarian, and have even benefited from such an encounter. And his name was Rasputin, and he died because everyone hated him, so they killed him. So you what? You want that? No. No one wants that, except maybe the stuff before he died. But the point is, engagement between masses, some perhaps in power, but it more or less an open field of proletarians, and an absolute showcase of divide for intended audience. You can either make intellectual reviews focused on being informative or pseudo-informative and impressing the person with power. Or you can make ironic pseudo-informative reviews with intent to engage with a vaster but less rewarding audience. Though all in all, it's honestly a strange blend of the proletariats. How do you say this word?
Proletariat.
Of the proletariats trying to climb the corporate ladder by engaging with the bourgeoisie, versus the proletariats only remaining within the Ides of filth. You know what though? That sounds familiar. I think it's called capitalism. Capitalism takes advantage of market weakness and exploits variables in order to reach a maximum profit. Like the Minions movie, that made $1 billion. How? Because it's like what I said before, children like things they don't understand. But that's the point. Engagement, receivance within a mass. And though at times there might be a notion of dissatisfaction for capitalist value within these ironic or serious or both reviews. But you know what's funny? Fun fact, Karl Marx was actually for this. He applauded 1919 American capitalism, and his goals were to recreate that, maybe with some more limiting standards, but overall supportive of a free market, where people weren't forced to work one job to survive, aka the plot of B-movie. And so, one could say that this idea, this engagement of mass and lust for power is the fulfilled dreams of a dead man with an immortal legacy. But nevertheless, let's go through this one more time. The real intellectuals are the bourgeoisie, or otherwise, the proletarians trying to become bourgeoisies. They are the ones who hold the highest amount of power within the notion of field of Marxist analytical reviews. Meanwhile, the parody pseudo-Marxist reviewers are the pure proletarians, who work to engage within the field of proletarian values disguised as bourgeoisie values, though whom also may at times engage in the Ides of want and desire. A typical thing for anyone, like Joseph Stalin, a communist, who, even though no one else like those bread people really had as much wealth as he did, and overall, both of these groups, the pseudos and the pseudo-pseudos, are engaged within a class structure, a class divide, a class struggle, a divide of prosperity between who benefits, and for what audience. Now, this strain of ideas obviously ties into the notion of reflection for capitalist versus communist value within Marxist beliefs, like Karl Kautsky, whom I did not just Google search, and his rival, Edward Bernstein, that's the timeline we live in. And they engaged with us the Ides of notion for belief, that there was a divide between Marxist values itself. that not all thoughts are equal, nor buzzwords like Marxist or Lassasian, but that using a dead man's credit was so say it as you will. So you're not a real Marxist if you use the real Marxist, is what 1919 Marxist debates boiled down into. And you're not a real Marxist analyticalist if you don't use a big word every 10 seconds. So here's a good one, firebrand, which means a person who is passionate about a particular cause, typically inciting change and taking radical action, or a burning piece of wood, and it is an agitator. It also means that there is a difference in opinion, which equates to a more radical amount of engagement. So this confers even more of a disagreement and dispute between the aspects of Marxist analytical intellects. And so, from this, we can finally and honestly say that serious Marxist reviews are bourgeoisie, and ironic Marxist reviews are proletarians. Finally saying the word right, shit. And there has been a revolution, a strain within the past few years, which has led to an overtaking of indoctored intelligence, and replacing it with a parody of itself, representative of the whole of these types of reviews. Satire expressing a mass, a market of people within a strain of potential topics. There are multiple Marxist reviews, and each of them are trying their best to succeed, to step over the other man and be the best within their field. Because it's not capitalism, it's human nature, to be the best and only the best. And nature of the mass has revolted from the strain of idling intelligence, and it's a simple byproduct of the internet, of the rise of communication, just like the American Revolution, the French Revolution, and the Russian Revolution, and every revolution, honestly. A people or market has been exploited, so the word got out between the masses, and more easily than centuries, word has been able to get around that people were being fed up with authority. So they congressed as much media attention as they could, which honestly, if you think about it, is pretty vastly impressive for the generation of people who lived 100 years ago, because they didn't got the smartphones or the internet. But the point is, they were, as a collective, able to rally a humongous plethora of support, and thus, in return, a mass, as a strength, rose up and physically trampled their oppressors, aka those who had more power than them. And that is my Marxist review of Marxist analyticalists! Oh God! Oh God. I'm gonna go to sleep now.
Che ignorava la scrittura con la quale tramandare i documenti della propria vita in un tempo in cui Roma aveva Cesare, Virgilio ed Augusto.